You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As we jump into talking prediction again here with Cory Hogue, Cory Hogue Sports. They got a Substack. Go check out all things non-FBS football in the state of Texas. Cory, SFA has knocked on the door of one of these upsets a couple of times under Colby Carthel. I don't want it to happen against my Cougars, but it does feel like they're going to be down the door one of these times. What's it going to look like? Is it going to be last-second heroics, a gutsy? We mentioned the call with his own guys, in the shadow of their own goalposts. Is it going to be one of those kinds of play? What's it going to be like when they finally pull that off?
It's so hard for an FCS team to do that. And we have seen, you talk close calls, SFA had one at Texas Tech quite a few years ago, and Abilene Christian and Maverick McIver had one last year where they almost beat Texas Tech. Every year, these teams at North Dakota State, Iowa doesn't even want to play them anymore, right?
Yeah.
Every year, you've got those teams that can. Is SFA, do they have the capability? Yes. They're gonna have to be in the game. If for them to win it, it would have to come down to the end of the game, close, probably a late drive, maybe a last minute stop, something of that nature to get there. I mean, that's how they're going to have to do it. They're probably going to have to get a couple of turnovers, right? We're talking first game of the season. And so neither team's going to be quite at their sharpest. And you also have to remember, first game is the worst game any team plays that year. And so if Houston's bad is extremely bad, it could go sideways for them, and SFA could get a chance. Now, if they take care of the ball, it's going to be hard for SFA without turnovers and without some help to do that. But I'll tell you, if it gets late and it gets tricky, Colby Carthel's a special teams guy, and he's not afraid to pull out a trick or two.
Well, you mentioned if it gets late, it gets tricky. They are Thursday night, week 1. It is ESPN Plus, I guess, but that at this point is fairly mainstream as far as watching on TV goes. It is a big deal game, and frankly, Thursday night means you could have a whole news cycle to it on Friday if you wanted to. He's not the kind of guy that strikes me as looking ahead to Abilene Christian in week 2. Abilene Christian's a big game on his schedule, but he's going to be pretty focused on Houston, right?
It's funny because I was talking to some coaches. I was at the South Lake Conference opening drive, their media day in San Antonio. It's almost been a full month now since they started workouts and stuff. But and there were some coaches that are playing a couple of FBS teams there, and they talked about maybe trying to do a little NFL preseason, get the starters out, try to get through healthy. That's not Colby. That's just not him, man. He's going to come in there. If he's going to lace them up, he's going to try to win. And he's going to do everything in his power to try to get that victory for as long as possible. He will have them ready. Abilene Christian the next week be a great reason for them to look past them, right? They beat Abilene Christian at home last year to end the season, the regular season. So the Wildcats are going to want revenge. It's in Abilene. It's another road game. Abilene was an FCS playoff team. They're supposed to be again this year. Like, that game could decide a playoff spot for the FCS, honestly. Week 2 could decide a playoff spot for FCS. It really could. It's a huge game. That still doesn't matter. Colby's going to try. If he has a chance to win, Colby's going to try to beat the Cougars.
Well, and I think that's interesting. You mentioned preseason. I think a lot of people from FBS fan bases would think of an FCS school as kind of that NFL preseason kind of thing. Houston hasn't played one of those since 2019. Hadn't played an FCS school since 2019. When they were in the American Conference, they were playing Power 4 schools to try and prove that they, could make that jump if someone gave them a chance. And now that they're there, they schedule these things so far, and this is the first opportunity they've had. And of course, as luck would have, they play one that's hoping to make the playoffs and make a name for themselves. Before, and I want to talk about what you're covering throughout the year in a second. Before we get to that, you mentioned all the things about Carthel and all the things about Stephen F. Austin, and all of that. I want to point out this feels like a guy that's going to be like an SFA lifer at this point. This is not a coach trying to make a climb or anything. He's building
Well,
it there, and that's interesting to me as someone who sees so many coaches. You mentioned the UIW machine; those guys are constantly looking for next. He doesn't. He could have left a minute ago.
well, you talk about UIW machine. Eric left, GJ left, Clint Killow has stayed, and he's a UIW guy. I think Colby is extremely happy in Nacogdoches. I think that his family is really happy. It's a great location. They own a couple of HTOs there, right? They've got some strings and some ties there. He sees that as a place that he ends up retiring at. But the fact of the matter is, he's got to win, and this is a big season for the Lumberjacks. There's a lot of things riding on this season for them. Oh, Thursday night, you mentioned Thursday night. You think Twitter and social media is not going to blow up if SFA is up like 7 or 14 on them in the third quarter, and you're going to get eyes. And then, yeah, it could be really good for the Lumberjacks and really bad for the Cougars if Friday is what they're talking. If they're getting talked about on Friday, that's not a good thing for Houston.
No, it's not. Now, admittedly, I think we're talking about an upset that Houston's depth, and whatever you think about Houston in the FBS and Big 12, I do think Houston's depth will prevail. I feel like
Houston. Don't get me wrong. Hey, look, if you're talking predictions, I pick Houston to win this game, but I'm saying there are scenarios where SFA could win.
Well, and I just don't think it. They're not. I don't know who the appropriate team would be. They're not Northwestern State is a program that's been kind of down lately, right? They're not like that. SFA is a rebuilding program that has had some success in recent memory. Cory, if people want to know more about SFA or any non-FBS school, you've been covering it for a long time, doing it very thoroughly, and your projects are changing a lot lately. What have you been working on? What's the latest?
Well, yeah, I departed Dave Campbell's Texas football, not my own doing, but life happens, business happens. So I have my own Substack now, CoryHogueSports.substack.com. I've got a podcast, Cut the Block podcast, that just premiered Wednesday night. It was its first episode. Check that out. Things are growing. Look, there's 35 teams in the FBS, and that number is going to grow to 36 next year when Schreiner comes in. There is a whole lot to talk about down here. A lot of players, a lot of NFL stars. Jalix Hunt, the Philadelphia Eagles, sacked Patrick Mahomes and had his doing the bow and arrow on the front page of ESPN. The guy came from Houston Christian, right? Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I was interviewing him in his senior years. He was getting selected for like the Reese's Bowl. So you've got talent. You've got NFL talent. Cam Ward played at UIW. Let's not forget that. They found him. They developed him, and he was special back then, right? Like everybody knew he was special. You get talent, and SFA has got some talent. They've got some dudes. It could get interesting on a Thursday night if Houston's not fully ready, but I think that their depth will take care of it. And if you want to know more about Stephen F. Austin or any of the other FCS, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, I've got them all right there. Any of them from Texas, I'll be covering them, talking about them as much as I can, as much as one man can on my Substack and social media.
It's a fascinating niche, and it frankly also is a valuable one because it doesn't. I think all of us see these schools like once a year, and it's a way to kind of keep up, yourself keeping up with them all year round, helps the rest of us stay on top of it. Before we get out of here, Lumberjacks, is that the best mascot in college football in Texas? Last thing.
I tell you, they have a 7-foot trophy now. They used to have a if you look at their rivalry with Northwestern State, they used to have a chief. They can't bring out the chief anymore, but they had the chainsaw chick carve out a big post, and it's got Northwestern State half and SFA half. It is interesting. I don't know if they've got the best mascot but they've got some of the best tradition, along with, I would say, probably Tarleton. They're probably up there with Tarleton as some of the best tradition in Texas FCS.
It's fun because like high school football, I think like the Cuero Gobblers or the Hutto Hippo, like it's just a fun aspect of these programs that are latched onto things that have been around for a long time. But Cory Hogue and Cory Hogue Sports, if you guys want to check out more on non-FBS football. Thanks again, Cory. And hopefully we're not coming back to you with like, how did this just happen on Friday after the game? But we're also weirdly, as this is being going live on Thursday, we're in game week. And so it's kind of weird to start a game week on a Thursday as well. So thank you for joining us today, Cory.
Hey, you bet, Parker. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm always willing to come on and share what I can about these FCS teams early in the season. You know, it's a chance to show that I'm not just sitting at home doing nothing, right?
No, far from it. And people should go check out the Substack and podcast for proof because there's a lot of work that goes into that. So thanks, Cory.
Thank you, Parker. I appreciate it, man.
I'm probably supposed to say this part where you subscribe and we keep our jobs and blah, blah, blah. Right. Anyway.